Welcome back to the channel. This is Robert at Retro Car Guy 530. This video I'm going to review the Chevrolet SS Sedan, also known as the Holden Commodore VF and VF2 in Australia. GM owns Holden, and Holden produced the Holden Commodore VF in the Elizabeth, Australia manufacturing plant, and the Chevy SS was produced in that same plant, as well as the Caprice PPV police patrol vehicle. So in this review, I'm going to attack it from the standpoint of an owner. I've owned a Chevrolet SS Sedan from 2015 through now. I previously had a 2015 Chevrolet SS Sedan in Mystic Green color, and then last year I sold that and I ended up purchasing this as a replacement vehicle, a 2017 Chevrolet SS Sedan in Slipstream Blue color. So stick around after the intro footage and we'll discuss the history of the vehicle and show you all the interesting performance features. It's hard to find a vehicle like this, rear-wheel drive, V8 powered with a manual transmission as an option for the price point that this vehicle sold at. The vehicle being used in today's review is a 2017 Chevrolet SS Sedan. The exterior body color is Slipstream Blue. The hood vents are functional. The Brembo brake calipers are red in color for the 16 and 17 model year and are silver in color prior to that. The suggested pricing for this vehicle starts with a base price of $46,625, gas guzzler tax of $1,300, spare tire and wheel, which is a front wheel and tire, of $500, and destination charge of $995 for a grand total of $49,420. The only other chargeable option for the features on this vehicle would be an optional sunroof for $900. I have included a copy of the window sticker for this particular vehicle so you can review the various features that are offered on the vehicle as standard equipment and the optional items which I mentioned in the previous segment. When I review a vehicle, I rate how well it performs in three of its basic functions: go, handle, and stop. For a vehicle, I consider these the three basic functions that it must perform well, or at least reasonably well, to be considered safe, and for a performance vehicle, it must perform them very well. So I'll classify how I view those three functions as being handled by the Chevrolet SS in this review. No cars. 3, 2, 1. There's 60, 70. I'm going to go on some back roads around where I live and show you the handling of this vehicle at the variety of speeds and corners. The steering feedback from the electric power steering is good. I find it weighted nicely for the weight of the vehicle and the type of roads. The suspension mode that you place it in also increases the weight of the feedback from the steering, so when you go into sport and performance, it's a heavier weighted steering at that point. So go around some of the corners here. I find it pretty much spot on. I don't really experience any understeer, nor do I really experience any oversteer. The tires I have on here are all season Continental Extreme Contact DWS 06 tires. I replaced the tires that were on the vehicle, which were summer only performance tires, because this area of California can experience snow and certainly goes below 40 degrees Fahrenheit, which wouldn't allow me to drive the SS on those stock tires. The brakes are working very well. Brembo brakes are good feedback on the pedal, a nice firm pedal. I don't need to get overly aggressive with the brake pedal application to get the proper amount of braking force out of it to stop the vehicle. So I've been very happy with the Brembo brakes on this vehicle. The fact that there are only 4 piston calipers on the front doesn't seem to suggest that they're insufficient. Some SS owners have upgraded into 6 piston calipers, but I have found that these are working well. If I tracked the vehicle or did more extreme driving, maybe 6 pistons would be required, but honestly I can't justify the expense of it. These seem to be working just fine. No one's behind me, so let's test that stop factor. Excellent. Now the key fob for the Chevy SS is a standard key fob. I've added a protective cover over mine, but you have the, of course, unlock, lock, trunk lid, and remote start, and of course the panic button. To remote start the vehicle, you only get that option actually with the automatic transmission SS sedans, but you end up doing a lock and then press and hold the remote start. And then to terminate the remote start from the fob, you press and hold the remote start button again. And you can do that, I believe it's up to 2 times remotely, and then after that it will refuse to remote start it until you open and close the door or you start the engine normally. There's some sort of reset feature with that, but you can always remote start it twice that I've found. There are push buttons on each of the door handles to gain entry into the vehicle. I've set the configuration setting on this vehicle to lock and unlock all doors at the same time. You can set it to where when you press the driver's door button, it only unlocks the driver's door. I tend to prefer the convenience of all of them unlocking, but it depends on your preference and your security preference with unlocking other doors that you're not at, so keep that in mind. The other thing though is, of course, you have a typical key here, and that's of course to gain entry into the door in case any of the electronics or battery is not working. But I've also taken advantage of the key to lock another resource on the vehicle. So here on the SS Sedan there's a door to gain access to the gas cap, and in this case I've purchased an AC Delco gas cap that is keyed to the key from the SS. That way I can protect, at least from someone pouring something into it. If someone really wants in, they can really get there, but with the at least with that I don't have to worry about carrying multiple keys for it. The Australian version of this vehicle, the Holden Commodore VF, comes with a locking gas door, but on the Chevrolet SS Sedan that's not the case. Now here we are on the driver's side inside of the door, and the controls available here are lock and unlock, of course your door handle to open the door, the memory seat position, and in the later model years, I believe it was at least on the 17, there's a exit position where you can set a memory setting to move the seat when the vehicle's put in park and you want to exit the vehicle, and then of course the set button for those. In the earlier model year, the 15 SS, this was just memory position number 3. And you have your window controls for all 4 windows in the vehicle for all 4 doors. You can lock out the window controls, your mirror adjustments for left and right, and then of course your trunk release button that is available here, and then speaker for your Bose system. Then moving into the vehicle, you can see on the dashboard we have some typical controls here as well, but your headlight control button or dial, your instrument panel adjustment for brightness, your head-up display adjustment, you can adjust the angle at which it presents itself on the windshield, and then also the mode button for the head-up display, which we'll demonstrate here in just a moment. Looking at the steering wheel, we can see that it's a flat bottom steering wheel, which is nice. The thickness is pretty good. I like the comfort of the grab areas on the top of the steering wheel. The steering wheel also contains the paddle shifters for the automatic transmission version of the vehicle. So decrease, increase over here. We have your safety feature buttons here. So this is the brake alert system and your lane departure warning system. You can enable, disable that, and then with this button you can adjust the distance that it alerts or turn it off. Your cruise control section here. The phone controls here, so whether you want to accept a call or use voice controls, hang up or mute. Your audio source, and then volume adjustments on this side. Behind the steering wheel we have the windshield wiper controls. You have intermittent wipers, and there's rain sensing capability. And then on this side we have your left and right turn signal, and depending on, let's get an angle there, you can see that there's a menu selection, and that is for the driver information center. There are two modes that you can put that into, so we'll use that in just a moment. So with the instrument panel you have a tachometer and your engine coolant temperature on the left side, and on the right side you have your speedometer in miles per hour and your fuel gauge. And then your center section, your driver information center, your turn signals are at the top here, and I believe your high beam indicator is up here as well, and then a color version of the driver information center is present here. So now moving towards the center of the dashboard, we have the engine start and stop button. So it is a push button start stop feature on this vehicle. And then moving towards the infotainment section of the vehicle, you can see it has the MyLink system screen here with the controls related to that all here, and it has integrated GPS navigation. So I like the mixture of touchscreen capability with the buttons and dials necessary to interact with it, so that's one plus for this vehicle. On the side here, of course, you have one of the dash vents, but below that you have, of course, a control to adjust whether it's on or off. My wife tends to turn them off, I tend to turn them on. The controls here are related to the seats, and you have heated seats and ventilated seats. They are not cooled seats, but they are ventilated. And you have three different, basically, speeds for the fan, and then temperature settings. So there's 4 modes: off, and then 3 individual settings for those. And then below here you have your emergency 4-way flashers, and below that you have your HVAC controls, which driver's side, it's dual zone, so you can have individual temperature set if you wish, or they can be in sync with each other. They can be in automatic mode or in manual. Air conditioning, recirculation mode, defrost, and low floorboard area straight out through the vents, your fan speed adjustment, out through the vents and through the floorboard area only. This is to turn on the front defrosters, which of course uses the air conditioning system to perform that function. You have the button to enable the rear window defroster, which is an electric heated element on the rear window, and then of course here's the passenger side control for the HVAC. So now moving over towards the passenger side of the dashboard, we have the Alcantara suede with the SS emblem embroidered into it, nice red stitching. The glove box here, fairly typical size, not much that I have in that particular one, but it is available. Below the HVAC controls you have a little cubby area that my iPhone just happens to sit in nicely, so I don't have to hold it or put it in a strange holder somewhere, since they're now getting heavier and heavier with each version of the phone getting bigger and bigger. You have your automatic transmission controls here, so of course your typical layout there, and you can go into sport mode with that as well. You have an electronic parking brake control here, and it pull up to engage and push down to disengage. You have your traction control button here to turn on and off. You have your automatic park assist, which helps you parallel or park in a parking spot automatically, which is a feature that was not very well known about the vehicle, but it is present. And then here is the parking sensors for the front. You can enable them at any time or disable them. They will come on automatically when you put the vehicle into reverse, and then when you put it back into drive, they'll remain active up until approximately 5 to 6 miles per hour in a forward direction. You have cup holders, which are decent enough. I tend to put my cup over in the passenger side here, and then by switching around here, you can see that there's a center storage area, and there is a power plug, there is a USB connector, and then down here on the left side is where you put your fob. If your battery is dying, you need to, in the fob, you need to put that fob in that location so you can attempt to interrogate the fob to make sure that you can start the vehicle using the start button. And then looking at the back here, we have the air vents in the back for the rear passengers, and that's the main features up here. Of course, we have in the center here our OnStar enabled mirror, rear view mirror, and on my particular system I've added a dash camera, which I have included in another video. But this module here is also contains a forward-looking camera that's part of the lane departure warning and brake alert system. So that's what this big unit is, and it's actually attached to the window. And from my understanding, if you need to have your windshield replaced, that's part of what needs to be replaced, because it comes attached to the window. If that's incorrect, let me know down in the comments below this video. And the center area here, you have fairly typical dome lights, whether they're engaged with the doors or just on automatically. You can turn each one on individually by these buttons. Sunglass holder here. Sun visors that are fairly functional. I wish there was a side piece that came out to help you get some additional blockage of the sun if you move them to the side. And then here's one modification I've made to my sun visor is I purchased an extra one of the sun visors, and I modified it to include a Homelink transmitter, because this vehicle does not come with any garage door opener feature. For North America, it's apparently not a feature down in Australia, so it's not one that they added to the vehicle just for North America. So usually this is a project that'll take about a half an hour. You pull back the fabric here, you buy a module. I did it off eBay, about 20 bucks, a transmitter, and then I found one with the right color for the bezel, and then you poke a hole through the fabric with a soldering iron to get the buttons able to pass through the fabric, and then you tap into the power for the vanity light here. So that's how I get my Homelink transmitter in my vehicle. So looking across the passenger door, you can see there's no grab handle here whatsoever on the front. The handle people love to grab onto, or something to grab onto if you're driving in a spirited fashion. That does not exist in the front of this vehicle. There is such a handle in the rear of the vehicle, and there's also a clip for hanging like a coat hanger or shirt hanger if you're wanting to hang some clothes in the back on the side. The rear doors are very similar to the front. Of course, limited controls just for the single window, and then opening the door handle, and there's a speaker in that door with some bottle or item storage on the door panel as well. Going to the back seat, you have fixed position headrests and a center pass-through area that has a section that will come down as an armrest, and then you can bring the whole thing down as a pass-through into the trunk. And then on the pass-through piece there are cup holders, and then the tray or something that you could set something on. It is at a slight angle, so it wouldn't be something that rolls around I would put on there, but you can do that. And then of course you have the latch child seat attachments. So this is a vehicle that could certainly be used by a family with up to two, maybe even three, depending on, I know there's at least attachments at least for 2 positions in the rear here. And then in the rear deck panel area, you have speakers behind each of the fixed headrests. And then the third brake light is up there on the top, is attached to the headliner. And then of course you can see my Thinkware F800 Pro rear camera that I've added to this particular vehicle. Here we are in the driver's side footwell area. You can see that both the brake and accelerator pedals have aluminum covers with rubberized button inserts to help reduce shoe slippage off the pedals. Now I'm going to show you the modifications that I've made to my 2017 Chevrolet SS Sedan. Some are cosmetic, some are functional, and some are comfort related, but here they are. I've added a dead pedal cover with similar button inserts, and I've actually added some shims underneath this one to elevate the top of it because I need to put the seat back fairly far to accommodate my leg length, and that caused my left leg to kind of dig into the bolster here would dig into my leg in my thigh, and it would kind of hurt after a while. So my solution to that was to add the dead pedal cover with the shims to bring my left foot to the point where the pressure was taken off the leg. The safety and security standpoint, I wanted a dash camera installed in this vehicle, so I added an F800 Pro 2-channel dash camera. Here's the front module. You can see below the forward-looking camera for the safety systems in the vehicle. And then the rear camera is in the rear window there, just below the third brake light. The battery module that I use for that dash camera is located here in the trunk, which I may try to find a better location, but right now it's mounted on the floor here. And I'll put a link to that video that I already have on the channel showing you how I installed and why I chose that particular camera and that battery pack. The exterior modifications are mainly cosmetic here, but this one's got some functionality to it. I have another video on the channel showing why I added a matte finish vinyl to the trunk lid spoiler to reduce the glare from behind the vehicle. Basically, the sun would reflect into the center rearview mirror and cause a blinding situation if you're driving at certain times of the day where the sun is low in the horizon. I know I received several comments about simply tinting the rear window, but in that case I still get sun reflected off that to the rear window, and then there's kind of a blurry spot in the tint. So I'd rather just solve it by putting the matte vinyl there. I have the Holden center wheel caps. And then on the trunk lid itself, I replaced the badging both front and rear with the Holden badges, removing the bow ties. And I also went to the point of putting the Holden version of the SS emblem here and the VF Series 2 emblem here. I replaced the SS on the front with the LS3 badge for that, and then the Holden badge on the front as well. I'm going to speed up the video a little bit here to go through this a little quicker. At engine startup, the driver information center and analog gauges initialize. The default screen for the driver information center is to show the rear seatbelt status, whether they're buckled or not. In the upper right corner, it shows the MRC mode, showing that it's currently in sport mode. To change that, you use the center dial, clockwise, counterclockwise movement. Center portion doesn't do anything. And to change it into track mode, you must first put it into performance mode, and then tap the traction control button on the center console twice, and then that will put it into track mode with StabiliTrak competitive mode showing on the driver information screen. So now to see where the turn signals indicators are, and then I'm going to turn on the headlights so you can see the high beam indicator, and then also the green indication on the right side showing the headlights are on. On the left side you see the seatbelt indication. Because I'm not belted at this point, it's warning that I'm not. And also in the lower left section you can see the parking brake indicator. It is engaged when it's on like that. You push down to disengage and then pull up to engage it again. To change off this default screen, you press the menu button once or you start driving, and then you can toggle through the available screens by using the turn wheel on the left stalk. And here are the screens on the main menu, and the miles per hour, vehicle information menu, tire pressure screen, remaining oil life, voltage. For the charging system, engine was running, so that was good. Speed warning, whether you have it on or not, and the unit of measure. I usually leave it on the tire pressure screen, which forces me to look at the head-up display while I'm driving for my speed. So let's get the camera. It's a little hard to see here at the bottom of the screen, but the head-up display displays basically at the base of the windshield. There are three different screens that you can toggle through, each having a couple of different features. I usually leave it on the tachometer and miles per hour. Here's the infotainment system. It was updated in the later model year, but it still does not have Apple CarPlay nor Android Auto. You can adjust the sources that you get it from. There's a good mixture of touchscreen and push button functionality. You can go into the navigation portion. This shows the navigation plus info, and pressing the nav button goes through three different modes. You must have the radio on to see the navigation screen. So what is the Chevrolet SS Sedan? It is a rear-wheel drive V8 powered 6-speed automatic or 6-speed manual transmission sedan that is hard to beat as far as price and performance in the North American market. It was produced by GM's Holden division in Elizabeth, Australia. At least it was until that manufacturing plant was shut down in October 2017. So there is no new Holden vehicles being produced, at least by Holden. Anything being sold as a Holden in Australia is a rebadged GM product in some form. So the SS Sedan was brought into the North American market. It was announced at a February 16, 2013 announcement at the Daytona International Speedway, and it was announced that it was going to be this vehicle configuration, but it was automatic only at that point. I was a little concerned that the automatic only configuration would have an active fuel management engine configuration, much like the 5th gen Camaro did at first, where the manual transmission had the LS3, but the automatic configuration had the L99, and I was not a particular fan of the L99 because my 5th gen Camaro with that had some issues and always would kick in at the wrong time. So I was very pleased when GM announced that this was a LS3 based rear-wheel drive vehicle. So beginning with the 14 model year, you had the automatic only, and you had the fixed suspension. So with the 15 model year, they changed it up a bit by adding magnetic ride control, and also by offering a 6-speed manual transmission configuration at a no-cost option. The addition of the 6-speed manual configuration that pleased a lot of people that really wanted a true performance vehicle. Now everyone had that choice between manual and automatic. There was a limited number, low percentage of manuals produced, but there was seemingly enough for people that were looking for it. But the majority of the vehicles produced were the 6L80E 6-speed automatic configuration. Now the options for the vehicle ended up being paint color choice, and you had the choice of a sunroof or no sunroof, and if you wanted the full-size spare tire. So there are staggered size wheels. There are 19-inch on both, but there are wider tires on the rear. The critics of the Chevrolet SS Sedan would call it a sales flop. In my opinion, it actually was a reasonably good sales success. There was never an intention by GM to make it a high-volume vehicle. They only originally stated somewhere between 2,000 and 3,000 would be brought into the North American market each year. And beginning with the 2014 model year through the 2017, there were 12,924, I believe is the number, production units brought into this market. And virtually all of those have been sold. So to me, that's a great success. Given the fact that it was only marketed through NASCAR, so if you're a fan of NASCAR, you probably knew the car existed. A lot of the car shows that I went to didn't even have the Chevrolet SS, and it was difficult to get information from people at the car shows on the SS. I only went to one show here in the Sacramento area that actually had one. People are just totally surprised this vehicle even exists. So it's interesting to take this to a Cars and Coffee or a car meet and let people come up and say, I didn't even know this was around. Where did you get this? How did you bring it in from Australia? I said, I went to a Chevy dealership. So overall, 12,924 production units were brought into the United States and Canada. So all those were sold. So again, I call that a sales success. The next two slides show the individual model years with the production numbers and some interesting factoids about that model year, including color changes and feature changes that took place and warranty modifications that took place during the production run. The next two slides will show what I consider the good features of the vehicle and my wish list for the vehicle. Overall, I'm quite happy with the vehicle, and no car is perfect, but these are the items that I think are really the standout features of this Chevrolet SS Sedan. And now for the wish list, the things I would like to see improved on this vehicle if it were continuing in production, or any vehicle that would be like it in the future. In summary, I find the Chevrolet SS a great family sedan. It has sleeper status, enough horsepower and torque to make driving really fun. I will truly miss Holden manufactured cars. I thank you for coming and watching this review, and hopefully this information has made you an informed consumer and a Chevrolet SS may be in your future. If you like this video, hit the thumbs up button. If you're stopping by the channel for the first time and you want to, please subscribe. Click that bell icon to get notified when I upload new videos. Please follow Retro Car Guy 530 on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Thanks for taking the time to visit the channel, and I'll see you in the next one.